Welcome to my home. Bienvenido a Miami. Bouncing in the club when the heat is on all night on the beach till the break of dawn. I'm going to Miami.
Too sweet! Hi, welcome to JD Sports. I'm Jared Judd. That's the way. You can follow personal Twitters at the show's Twitter page, which is @_JD Sports. Thank you for watching on YouTube. If you are, you can listen to SoundCloud. Dwight is not going to probably tell you how to do that, but
probably most likely is not.
He used
the description is your friend.
So, this week,
What's up?
we have more on the field, but before the game issues in the NFL to talk about. We do have a good amount of NFL to talk about.
Tons.
I'm not going to really mention the MLB playoffs because
it's
going to be an awkward transition by the time we get this up. But I will definitely talk about the Championship League next week. I'm excited. The Astros are the only team clinched as of this moment.
Okay, we need to go this far at least. How's your prediction going? Because I don't know. I'm legitimately asking.
As of this exact moment, the Dodgers are up 2-1, and the Astros move to the next round, and the Indians are going to a Game 5, which is a winner game take all against the Yankees.
So you had Dodgers Indians? I don't remember.
I had Dodgers Indians, yeah, and I said either Dodgers Indians or Dodgers Astros, and the Astros took care of the Red Sox already. So they're the first team to clinch. Now, a little quickly actually on the MLB before we go any further.
We're not going to talk about the MLB though.
No, the Astros, I think it was 3 years ago, were on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Jose Altuve was on the cover of Sports Illustrated and said, "You're 2017 World Series champions," and here they are SI was saying about how the way they did the statistical everything and the way they drafted, and, all that kind of stuff, with the analytics and all that stuff. The way they did that, they actually were projected to be well above everybody in 2 years, and then here they are, for 3 years, and here they are.
Is that some trusted process shit?
Yeah, it is, and actually, it
really
really
worked.
It worked for them, yeah. So, and honestly, the Phillies are doing a model of that because obviously everyone in sports is monkey see, monkey do. There's a couple teams doing it. The Phillies aren't the only team that modeled after the Astros, but
right.
And I think the Phillies are saving enough money because they have more money than teams like the Astros and the Royals and the A's to get a big-time player like a Mike Trout, hopefully, or just a big-time free agent on top of doing this. They have the advantage of doing that, so that's exciting as a Phillies fan. Anyways, moving forward. We have some college to get into at some point as well. And the only WWE we're going to hit on is Shane McMahon jumped 20 feet on the air and fell into a table, so that was pretty cool.
Shane O'Mac, man. What can you say? We'll get there.
So.
What's up? Here comes the money.
That was pretty good.
It was stuck in my head.
Speaking of money drives everything, and the NFL...
I don't know what you're talking about. Money drives absolutely nothing.
The NFL, to keep their sponsors happy and to probably make the President of the United States happy and...
Who he play for? America. And
so, after his comments, things keep ratcheting up a little more, and Jerry Jones decided, even though there was no problem in his locker room with already standing for the anthem, to come out in an interview, and I think he was asked about... I think it was Pence leaving the game, if I'm not mistaken, and all he said in response was the Dallas Cowboys are going to take
shout out to that jabroni who, claimed ignorance. And
he knew that was going to happen. I think that was all
he claimed ignorance and acted like he didn't know that was going to go down. Even though he didn't say that the president said, if this happens, well, he said, when this happens, make sure you leave.
Yeah,
and he said, yes, sir. Yes, I will, Mr. President, sir.
I'm not a fan of him showing up to the game and then deciding to leave because players were named. Because obviously you knew players were going to knee. It happens before almost every NFL game in America right now. So
remember a couple weeks ago we had a conversation about people leaving the freaking games early for no reason.
Yeah.
And how dumb that was.
Yeah.
How much money did he get a free ticket? I'm assuming
obviously, but he left before kickoff. And you know what would have been really nice if two kids could have, because it was in Indianapolis, if two kids at Peyton Manning's Children's Hospital could have been in that seats instead of somebody who left before the game, somebody who was just trying to make a political stance and already knew what they were. Anyway, I'm not even. That fires me up because you literally could have given those tickets to charity to kids who, if you were just going to pick up and leave and not actually use the seats, then you could have just given them to somebody who actually would have. Peyton Manning was getting honored on Sunday. So it would have been very nice if you got kids from Peyton Manning's Children's Hospital go sit in those 2 seats instead of just picking up and leaving, or 7 seats, however, his security guards and all that. Anyways.
I'm just saying.
That is super frustrating from this side of things and not being able to ever, like, just help the kids who need it and people who need it. And now I'm watching a political move. And now 10 to 15 seats are probably empty if you add in his team. And anyways.
You want to preach some more? I'm just going to sip on this delicious Pepsi.
All right, so I don't think that Jerry Jones is a dumb man, because I think that if Dak Prescott decided to take a knee, he's not going to go to. Dwight, I actually forgot to look this up. Who is Dallas Cowboys' backup quarterback? It's not Mark Sanchez. It's not Kellen Moore.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot.
Right. Okay, so you know what? Even better.
You know what's funny? People still say Mark Sanchez. I literally had this conversation.
He's with the
Bears.
I know.
I literally had to tell somebody this the other day.
No, but this, I don't even need you to know what the backup is. It's not even that big of a deal. Point being is nobody knows.
Right.
And that is
some jabroni.
That is the reason that Dak Prescott will not be sat if he did take a knee. Not that Dak Prescott's going to take a knee in any way, shape, or form. None of them are going to.
The Cowboys as a team established they weren't going to do it.
And they didn't
during the anthem.
And they had no problem with the conversation before the year that Jerry Jones said he would like them to respect his wishes, not because.
And apparently they did.
And none of them even argued it, and this was not a problem.
Which is cool. As long as everybody in the situation apparently agreed, which apparently they did. I don't understand why we had to have an additional conversation a week later.
But all this is, as Mike Wilbon put it, a plantation owner mentality. And we both like Mike Wilbon. We both like Mike Wilbon a lot.
I love Jerry Jones.
My first initial reaction is...
My reaction was... Dude, you had it right.
Yes.
Up until this point, and now,
I don't even know if they had it right. But you had it under control where nobody was worried about it, and that's the bigger deal.
Right. And everybody had.
Everybody was already standing.
Everybody was like, cool.
This wasn't an issue in your locker room. You made it an issue in your locker room.
Right.
I don't even know if it's a look. I
think it's a plantation situation.
What he said does come off as a plantation owner situation, but
comes off as ignorance.
But my bigger thought is either Donald Trump said this is not going to stop until you guys have your players under control, or sponsors were in his ear and saying, hey, we don't really like, or when he took a knee with the Cowboys in Arizona and he stood up.
Great.
But do you remember when they stood up, the boos that they got? That legitimately, in and of itself. Agree, but that legitimately in and of itself.
Supposedly, the problem was they were doing it during the anthem, even though he did before. So now clearly it's not about the anthem.
But the problem in and of itself is he heard a lot of people booing, and he was getting booed. His team was getting booed, and that is something that was probably weighing heavy on him. So he was ready to jump. Like any of those combination of things, or all of those combination of things, are very possible. Not just that he thinks that it's disrespectful to knee for the flag, so none of my players are going to do it, and I own this team.
It's beyond.
And I honestly, my first reaction was, wow, it sounds like that, but I agree with you.
What's the common denominator at this point? He's an owner. What is he like?
Money.
There it is. What do advertisers offer him?
As I started this entire thing, money. Yes. I started this entire thing.
What does the NFL? What do they have to
They've run off of money.
This point?
Sponsors. So
what is Donald Trump apparently
getting sponsors to get pulled?
This is where we're at now.
We agree.
I don't feel like Jerry Jones or any owners at this point, because like I said, we just said, Jerry Jones already had an understanding with his players, and the players apparently respected him enough, like we said, that we were going to do it this way, and Jerry partook in that. But now we're at a situation, even though we are in timeout. Even before I get to that, we already established Jerry's point, which was we're not going to do it during the anthem, which I don't think people understand. He didn't just magically come up with this. He's been said that. He said that since day one. That's why they came up with the situation that they did, and everybody was cool with that, including him, and he went and kneed with them before. Cool. If that's what they all agreed upon and they were cool with, then cool. But somehow, somewhere, we're ignoring that now.
If he didn't find that to be disrespectful to the flag, then I don't know what the big deal is that he had to come out and say this. He did that with them, so that's obviously to him not disrespectful to the flag.
Because
he even had a little smile on his face when he did it.
That's why they did it before.
Right, because he didn't feel like it was disrespectful to the flag.
But the sponsors, the advertisers, Donald Trump, his influence.
As Bomani Joe said,
frankly, money is saying, but regardless, it's not a good look. So you need to kind of Moonwalk a little bit.
As Bomani Jones said, whatever street cred in Jerry Jones's crew is, maybe that was a possibility that he was losing some street cred for what he did with his players. Whatever the equivalent of street cred would be with his crew. Look, honestly, I have been really disturbed on how the NFL and the fans have handled this whole situation in a lot of directions, I've been disturbed on how...
It's not just Jerry Jones, let's be clear.
The owners, the whole NFL.
It's only getting worse.
I was also disturbed after the Donald Trump comments when the players were reacting and not really doing it for oppression, but just doing it to say, basically, F you, Donald Trump. So I don't like that either. I
don't know what oppression is. I haven't seen that in 30 years, which is like the 80s.
If a player knows exactly what he's doing it for and has a thorough, detailed background and can answer every question that is given to him on why he is doing this, then I have zero issue with it. We've talked about that before, but...
Right.
Bigger than that, if they're just doing it to say "F you, Donald Trump," I don't like that because that's not a good enough reason to me to do this.
That's not what it is.
I felt like the week after it happened, that was part of it. But my bigger thing is
I think it's starting to lose its meaning. I'll say that.
And that's kind of that's what sucks about this. This is now just turning into not open dialogue. It's just you're wrong, and now the only way to fix it.
We're right.
And I feel like Donald Trump, who has been like I pointed out last week, feuding with the NFL since the mid '80s. He's been doing things to fight the NFL since the mid '80s. He finally found a leverage pull on the NFL where he was able to get enough attention, enough people, and enough. So what happens if? And like I said, Dak Prescott's not going to take a knee and whatever. What happens if all of the players who are African American take a knee? You would have to
just
forfeit
collectively
the game.
done that.
You forfeit the game as the Cowboys, or do you play? Does Jerry Jones just...
right now, as if it's
They're not going to. I'm just asking. Like,
I don't know what I would love to see. Honestly, I would love to see Dak, Zeke, David Earn. Hell, I would love to see Jason Witten. That would never happen. But Jason Witten.
Zeke's not going to do it because he's been in too much water. Dak's not going to do it because he is the face.
Dez Bryant would do it.
Dez is the only wild card I think that there is a possibility that he might do it. But to be honest with you, they're winning. They not winning, but they do all right on the wide receiver end if Dez doesn't play. So I feel like Jerry would actually have no problem sitting him, but I think he would not sit Zeke.
Though? I feel like that would be the perfect scenario though. If Jason Witten and or Sean Lee are two big leaders, Dan Bailey, even though he's a kicker, he's a leader.
Absolutely.
Those three, especially white players, what if they did it? What if it's some combination of Dez? Let's just make up something.
Dez, Jason Witten, Sean Lee, and Jalen
throw
Smith.
another one. Same another one. David Irving.
Jalen Smith. Who's defense player, right.
Does Jerry Jones sit any or all of them?
Your defense is already reeling. If you sit Sean Lee and Jalen Smith...
You're not sitting Jason Witten.
You're only... Right, so...
I'm just saying.
We agree, and it's kind of odd to me, and I don't...
I think Jerry's talking a lot of, I wear the pants in this, what I say goes and you're going to listen, but Jerry doesn't seem to understand that if the players decide to flip the script on him, it's not going to go well for that particular team. And it goes for every team.
Yes, absolutely.
We're talking about the Cowboys in general.
Because of what was said.
Right.
If they all... And look, this is definitely something that's been talked about in locker rooms across the NFL. No Eagle is kneeing. No, I highly doubt that is because...
If Carson Wentz knees, if...
No Eagle is kneeing, and it's not that the owner came out and said it, or he might not even have the conversation with the team, but there was some kind of influence there to tell them that, hey, we don't mind if you raise your fist, which Malcolm Jenkins does. Malcolm Jenkins is actually one of the biggest activists in the NFL right now, and he does not knee. He's the Eagles safety.
Clearly, they had a conversation.
Somebody had
it's been on low, though. It's been in the background.
And honestly, whatever the conversation was actually enough for Malcolm Jenkins to say, okay, I am willing to compromise, because that's what most of this should be the beat.
That's the way it should be.
And the compromise that you brought up in the beginning of this, the Jerry Jones trying to compromise with his players,
which he did a week ago,
compromising with him.
Now we don't know where I don't know where Jerry stands, and frankly, I'm disappointed.
So what? So the thing that disturbs me about the NFL is that they are claiming this to be basically we're losing fans, right? And that's the stupidest cover ever, because
I don't know. Number one, I don't know a person that is not watching. They like to talk a lot of trash. I don't know a single person.
I know one person on my
that legitimately
Facebook.
Is not watching.
One. They claim they're not. I don't know if they are.
God bless you. I guess
they claim they're not. Anyways, not the point. They didn't care.
Are you a hypocrite though if you still check the scores after though?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if they are or not.
They didn't care about the fan. They didn't care about the fans' reaction about when Michael Vick went out and came back. They didn't care about the fan reaction until a week after the Ray Rice fan reaction was getting too loud.
Oh, you mean a video?
they did care. Well, because they didn't care at all about the reaction until the video, and then the video came out. It took them a week and a half after the video came out for them to re-react.
Right. They didn't care about the quote-unquote Ray Lewis investigation.
They didn't care about the kicker, Josh Brown.
Oh.
They didn't care about Ben Roethlisberger.
Oh.
The fan reaction to that. But they care about this.
They didn't care about Burr shooting himself in the leg.
But they care about
just stupid.
They care about the fan reaction to this, and this is the reason that you want to start making moves. What if, and hypothetically, because this is not going to happen, because I feel like the other side of this argument is entirely overall too smart to do this, but what if the other side said, well, if you're not going to allow these players to knee, then I'm going to stop watching the NFL. Do they start allowing the players to knee again because the fan reaction? No. My point is that is my reason on this is the most BS thing that is with this entire conversation, and it makes me mad because we're not even talking about the reason, the oppression in the inner cities.
We're so far removed from that. That's what's ridiculous, and they won.
It hurts my soul, man.
For that very reason,
it hurts my soul.
They win because you know what? We're so removed from that. That's not even a footnote. That's on page 8. It's not even in the conversation.
Colin Kaepernick doesn't have a job, and they're not talking about oppression. The side that did not want this to happen has won. It is now turned into a money thing.
Deflect and blame. Change the narrative to fit our own story.
George Washington has a lot of quotes explaining that things that are happening right now in America should not be happening, but I'm not going to get into it.
That's factual. I honestly God thought we were about done with this conversation last week, and it got
just
so much worse.
It's going to be a firestorm.
The next move apparently is going to be the rule change.
They're going to talk about changing the rule, and if they actually do, it's going to be a really big firestorm. Okay, so let's move on.
Let's ignore the original point. Let's just keep going there because we're in America. And
you and I will not ever ignore the original point. We will forever be on the side of trying to fix
we're just a bunch of
America.
punk-ass young liberals who don't know no better.
That's what everyone calls me.
That's what everybody calls me. Which is ironic on many levels.
I don't follow a politic
I
party.
Consider myself fully liberal, but whatever. I gotta say myself a grown man that can look at things logically and not pick and choose.
Republicans call me Democrats, and Democrats call me Republican. And then when they find out I'm neither, they just end up saying I'm a liberal, and I'm like, I mean, okay, that's fun.
People say I'm a Democrat, and
Why?
I was like, I voted for a president that was a Democrat.
It confuses me on the whole. You have to identify with the political party you talk about anything that's going on in this world. But
I go with Chris Rock's narrative, which was I'm a human being. I don't pick a side. I pick what makes sense in my mind.
I am
right now. If one makes sense more than the other, then that's just what it is.
I'm a bigger sports fan than anything, and so. Not to continue with the whole dark cloud over the star, but they had a pretty epic game over the weekend. Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady are the only two players that can do that, and they've both done it this season already.
Aaron Rodgers did exactly what I said he was going to do. He has our number, dude. What can I say? You can't give him any time. Apparently, we didn't learn. This is what's so irritating as a Cowboys fan is that literally Dak Prescott has the ball, and I'm literally saying slide, get out of bounds, something. We can 4 downs. Give it to Zeke. Give it to Zeke. 4 downs. You have 4 chances. If he can't get, don't shake at me because Aaron Rodgers does what he wants against us. Our defense is absolutely garbage. You can't give him any time, let alone a minute and change plus a timeout, and all he needs is a field goal. Are you kidding me? Literally, the moment I said deja vu, and I was like, did you see what our defense did up until that point?
Yes.
So,
can I put it this way?
No. Why? Because it doesn't matter, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter what you say in this situation. To me, if I'm Jason Garrett, I'm getting in Dak's ear, I'm getting in Zeke's ear. No matter what, if we can get to the 1, just get down. Let that clock roll, let that timeout burn, and we will have 3 to 4 downs to get it in there. And if it doesn't work, considering our high-power offense and how dominant our offense can be, and we were, especially in that second half, especially with the run, which everybody shit on Zeke about until that second half happened. I'm just saying, quote-unquote distractions happening, right? Yeah, okay, shut up.
Joe Buck and Troy Aikman all game.
Right. If that doesn't work for 3 to 4 downs, then we don't deserve to win. But you don't give it to the other guy who has been your nemesis and is basically your Tom Brady, to your point. In a
only
whole
two
different
quarterbacks
conference.
can do that. Only 2 quarterbacks can do that. Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers.
And so we gave him a minute 13 with the timeout. I said, "Are you kidding me?" I was disappointed. I was irritated, and when it happened, I was like, "I know exactly what's going to happen," and that's what happened. I knew we weren't going to get a turnover. Are you kidding me?
I don't doubt that you would have came on here and absolutely supported Dak Prescott sliding. I don't doubt that for a second.
I wanted it so bad. I said, "Get down, get down, get down, get down."
But you have to realize 2 things. One, how hard it is to score in the NFL. 2, if they don't get it in, if he slides and they don't get it in, do you understand the absolute backlash that he would have gotten on Monday? It would have been so dreadful. It would have been disgusting, and it would have been ridiculous.
That would have been the ignorance of everybody else's part then, because then they don't understand recent history.
It's also very
and they don't understand who that other guy is.
I understand.
If I'm Jason, like I said, if I'm Jason Garrett, I'm in everybody's ear saying, "You get down." And to me, I get it, and like even I think
it's the Packers.
And Troy Aikman and Joe Buck had that argument, which was basically, you have to take that. I was like, no, you don't.
I think you do, and
I don't think you do.
I'm on the side of taking it. And
our defense is garbage.
I understand. Look,
we trusted so much that we went on it on fourth down 2 other times in the same game.
What did I say to you last week?
But then what do you? Why? Not you, but then why are they scoring then? If earlier in the game, 2 times we went for it on fourth down already. That means that defense sucks.
Well, actually, I have a stat for you.
Of course you do.
Do you know how much time the Green Bay Packers had the ball in the fourth quarter?
Not off the top of my head.
2 minutes and 26 seconds. And
that sounds like domination.
And they scored 20 points in 2 minutes and 26 seconds.
That sounds like domination.
13 and a half minutes, the Dallas Cowboys had the ball.
And we were scoring, but it only took Green Bay
2 minutes and 26 seconds to score 20 points in the fourth quarter. They were barely on the field.
I'm just saying.
And a minute and 8 of them, or whatever, was that last drive.
Right. I'm just saying. What can I say? It's the same reason I picked Green Bay last week. Unfortunately, Aaron Rodgers has our number, and until we learn that we cannot give it to him, especially with this garbage secondary.
Does this get fixed?
Excuse me.
Does this happen for the rest of the year? Do they keep just because this is 2 weeks in a row? 2 weeks in a row in the fourth quarter. Your team in the second half, the Dallas Cowboys clearly showed how much they didn't trust their defense, and they still were not able to pull it out because the other team was able to just run over the defense whenever they had the ball in the second half. Is this something that you because like obviously if it's not corrected then in the playoffs this just happens again against the Packers because you're going to play the Packers. Right. You're like that's unavoidable. So. If you make it that far, my thing is like that's what I'm saying. Can they correct this at any? Is there anything they can do, or is this just going to be the rest of the football season where
as far as
you're gambling the whole entire second half, and hopefully you can just somehow figure out how to give them the ball for less than 2 minutes and 26 seconds?
As far as I'm concerned, this is going to be the story moving forward because our offense is not a problem. Our offense can put up 30 points easily.
Dez look good.
Offense is great.
Green Bay's defense is really bad, so it was honestly and
we'll put up 30 points, but the problem is we'll put up another 30.
I'm not a Cowboys fan, but for Cowboys fans, it was refreshing, I'm sure, to see them be able to basically at will run the ball for 3 yards if they only needed 3 yards, or run the ball for 7 yards, or pass to Dez for 50 plus yards, or get to Witten, or you know what I'm saying? So,
dude, we are 22nd in points allowed.
I know. And the defense was on the field for 2 minutes and 26 seconds in the fourth.
We can score 30 against almost anybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the problem is we allow 30, I'm just making up a number, we allow 35 the other way. Like, it's like that's not how you win. You need some type of defense. And I don't think you can correct it moving forward.
I don't either.
Our defense has been a story since at least 2014. Well, we've had a great...
The Marco Murray era.
Well, we've had a great offense with Dez and Jason Witten, DeMarco Murray,
and the offensive
that 2014 team. The difference is that I don't even know. The defense was a little better.
It was a little better
because I was going to say probably time of possession is probably about the same, if not a little more.
It's a little more now.
So I don't know.
The defense
line just definitely got worse.
The offensive line on Sunday for the Cowboys had their best week so far this year. They looked very good overall.
This is going to be a narrative for the rest of the year.
Well, I hope they don't correct it before week 11 because that's when the Eagles play them. And I hope Dez and Dak and Zeke decide to knee before that game because I hope they wait until that game.
Yeah, he's going to bench him.
I hope. I think Malcolm Jenkins should get in the ear and try to get him to be real activists that week. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to do it too, guys.
He might just do that.
But he's going to tell Jeffrey Lurie, I'm going to do this, but they're going to bench their players. Don't bench me. I'm doing this so they bench their players.
Then he's going to fake him out and actually not take the knee.
Because that's what he does. Anyways. Speaking of the Eagles, Carson Wentz, the native son, man, looking good.
It's gross.
I got an Eagle stat for you.
Of course you do.
How many players in the NFL have touchdown receptions over 50 yards?
I did see this. I don't remember the answer. 2.
1.
Oh yeah, it's what's his name? Aguilar.
Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah,
What? He has
I saw
2.
this, yeah.
It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
He did an honor to Deshaun Jackson on Sunday when he fell backwards in the end zone and put his hands down. I thought it was interesting.
I will say, I thought that was a great play.
It was it was you know what? As a Nelson Aguilar hater, and I
fan.
said that dude should be cut after that game last year. Shout out to him to make that
fantastic.
move.
That was fantastic.
He is actually the slot receiver everyone told me he would be when he actually was in the slot. So like, shout out to everyone who knew that. My bad. Look, the Cardinals are reeling. Now their defense.
Garbage.
Their defense has been all right this year, but as bad as their offense has been week in and week out, you're gonna get tired over time. And then when you play a team like the Eagles, the Eagles are one of few teams passing the ball consistently more than 15, 20 yards down the field. When you play a team like that and you're used to just grinding it out for the last couple of weeks, and your offense is basically never on the field, and you've been on the field the whole time. You're tired, you're exhausted, you just flew across the country, and you have an Eagles team who is amped up right now and just flying around everywhere. The offensive line for the Eagles is like as good as advertised. I'm thoroughly impressed with what's going on up there.
That?
I am. I'm super on board.
Is it better than Cowboys yet?
So far this season, yes, but the Cowboys, I think, have better talent. And on Sunday, the Cowboys had the best overall game that they've had all season. So if they continue to do this, then no, the Cowboys would probably be a step ahead, I would say. But like, I think the Eagles are very close to them, if at worst. Do you know what I mean? I think that they protect Carson Wentz very, very well, and that LeGarrette Blount's getting yards. So I'm honestly not worried if they're the best or if they're 10 best. You know what I'm saying? I think that they look good, and that's all I'm really worried about. The defensive line is as good as I've been saying. The defense in general all season has been exceptional, and against that offense who has not moved the ball all year, they did exactly what you would want them to do against a team like that they played. 4-1. I'm impressed. I'm impressed overall. The special teams have had.
I don't think I would have predicted 4-1.
A lot of people thought that they were going to be the third or fourth team in the East. So for them to be as good as they are right now, and I told you I thought they were going to be second, fighting for first, and here they are. It's very early in the season, only 5 games in, so there is a lot of time left and a lot of things going on. But I hope. Look, Carson Wentz has been looking like the number 2 overall pick. He's been him and. I think him and Dak, Deshaun Watson. I mean, you talk about these young quarterbacks. This is going to be so fun to watch.
None of those 3 names that you just mentioned have had
they're
any
not,
bad games.
They're not.
Dak had that one game
they're not
against
the reason,
the Broncos, but I mean,
they aren't the reason their team has lost in any of the games that they played in. And what do I always say? That's what you want from your quarterback.
The funny thing, not to go back to the Cowboys, but Dak's one interception was again a tip ball.
It was a tip ball. Yeah, you're right.
He hit it. Right. He hit Terrence Williams, but Terrence didn't call it.
Yes, absolutely. And outside of Carson,
these quarterbacks, to your point, these 3 quarterbacks, they're not making mistakes. They're not causing their teams to lose games.
And I always tell you, that's all you want from your quarterback. That at minimum, that is what you want from your quarterback, and all 3 of them. And you can even throw. There's a lot of people that you can throw in there.
Right. But we're talking about the young guys.
Right. And so that was absolutely fun to watch from Carson. 4 touchdowns.
I mean, it was sickening to me, but it was just complete domination.
Absolutely.
When it's 21-0, I was just like,
early.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wasn't that the first quarter?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's gross. But I mean, hey.
Zach Ertz on the low, becoming a top tight end in the league like
he's
that.
He's always been top 5.
But people. I mean, look, he's
easily. I won't say I'd say he's always been top 5.
Between the top 10,
the Eagles.
Between the top 15 and top 5, I absolutely agree. I think he's fluctuated. I think he had a couple off times, but since Carson Wentz has come in the league, he has been nothing but exceptional, and he's been Carson Wentz's favorite target. So Zach Ertz is absolutely putting himself.
Jason Witten.
He's putting himself in that category. I absolutely agree.
Wentz learned early.
I can't get any more excited or even really say much more about the Eagles. I'm just, fingers crossed this continues, and hopefully.
Fingers crossed they don't.
Hopefully.
I mean, I do have one thing.
I enjoy the coaching staff too. I think they've done a very good job. But what is this?
I do.
Is this a Skip Bayless move?
I'm just saying. As much as I get on my secondary.
Yes.
Do you know we're 19th in passing yards a game, which is pretty pathetic.
Okay.
I assumed it would be a little higher.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know the Eagles are actually 22nd?
I knew that it was low, but they're also leading.
They're actually worse than the Cowboys.
But they've been leading in the second half of every game, and teams are throwing.
I'm just saying.
50 to 55 times.
I'm just saying. Well, of course. I mean, I just had to throw that little jab out there because you're so high on Philadelphia.
No.
I just had to let you know
Look,
that your secondary is also garbage.
What are we talking about?
The point is,
what have we talked about?
We allow points. We allow more points.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's actually the bigger thing. You're right.
Right.
But
which we're 29th, so
what
and
have
you're
I
not
admitted?
above us. You're I don't forget what you are, but you're definitely lower. But I'm just saying.
What have I admitted? What have I admitted since day one of this Eagles team? Their biggest flaw
Just saying.
is the secondary. I completely agree. And Malcolm Jenkins.
Would you have ever guessed that they have a worse up and through 5 weeks, now in week 6, that they would have a worse?
I knew that they were bottom end of the league, so I mean, it wouldn't have been.
First of all, I was surprised the Cowboys won in 19.
Well, from watching,
put that there.
from watching,
number one, number
I've watched
two,
every snap for the Eagles this year, and that's how I knew they gave up a lot of passing yards.
I
in every
wouldn't
game.
assume.
Philip Rivers had like 355 against him, but again, he threw 56 times.
I would assume Dallas was 25 or above, and I'd assume Philly was below that. The fact that Dallas is what 4 positions above them, as far as that concerned.
But the Eagles haven't given up more than 25 points in a game this year.
There you go. So yeah, it was just a cheap Skip Bayless jab.
Well, speaking of Skip Bayless, he doesn't like.
He
He thinks that Carson Wentz is a deer in the headlights.
He did. Okay, so what?
Hold on, can I just?
That doesn't mean he doesn't like the guy. I saw you go off on Twitter again about him.
He said he likes the human Carson Wentz, and that's good for him. But no, I'm saying
he's a Cowboys fan. What do you want? So he doesn't like Carson Wentz.
I'm an Eagles fan, and I can admit that Prescott's good. You're a Cowboys fan. You admit about Carson Wentz.
Most people are like that, and that's fine. That's why I saw you, of course, tweet about it. And I was like, why you know this?
Carson Wentz has the highest percentage
just
on third
like
down.
Stephen A. Smith will be the first person to go the opposite route and say, forget Dak Prescott.
And that's dumb.
And just like Shannon Sharp, he was the first person to say, well, people act like Shannon Sharp said that Carson Wentz was a better scrambler than Dak Prescott. I wouldn't agree with that, but whatever. Shannon Sharp says because he's white because he's a worse athlete.
I think they're both very good scramblers. I think that Dak is
the
probably.
The point being is that you already know these people's narratives, so I don't know why you felt some type of way.
Because no one's calling Dak Prescott a deer in the headlights. Like, this is an extreme.
Even if it's
he's way off. And he said he's never wrong on these things. That's what I felt some kind of way about. Because, he is not even good. Look, Carson Wentz has the highest third down percentage by a mile in the NFL right now. It's not even close.
For somebody you don't like, you sure up all up in his mentions.
I mentioned him. It was on FS. It was on Fox Sports 1. Mm-hmm. And I tweeted at JD Sports. I didn't even tweet at Skip Bayless.
Why are you following Fox Sports 1? You know who they support.
Colin Cowherd.
So full of shit.
There's one team that is undefeated. They had a very big lead Sunday night against Deshaun Watson and the Texans, and then the Texans came the whole way back to make it actually a really good game in the fourth quarter.
And then it didn't even matter.
The Chiefs, 5-0.
Right now, the best looking overall team in the
Alex Smith would be the MVP if you had to give an MVP through 5 games. I think Alex Smith. I think Brady, because I think Brady's the only good thing about the Patriots. Not in this order.
Negative.
Carson Wentz, I think you throw his name in the hat. Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's been the only thing about the Seahawks.
Yeah, there's not a lot of convincing conversations really. Other than him, I was trying to be that guy to just come up with a name.
I really think Alex Smith is the MVP right now.
Yeah, it'd probably be him.
Yeah,
I don't think it's gonna be a landslide situation.
Draft his replacement and see what he does. When they drafted Colin Kaepernick in San Francisco, this man went out and took them to the NFC Championship, and they lost to the Giants. And then they drafted Patrick Mahomes, the cousin of the wrestler. That's a joke. And he's having an MVP-like season. Now, Alex Smith, is he doing anything different, or does he just have more talent around him? Alex Smith was a very hated on quarterback for a very long time.
And I always thought they are just clicking so well. Right, I
always thought he was pretty good. I just didn't think he was great.
No.
I thought he was pretty good, though.
Right now he's looking pretty great.
He looks pretty great, right? He's looking like the best quarterback in the NFL right now. You got to throw Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is definitely in that MVP conversation.
Yeah. He's probably number 2.
Right, I would say absolutely. No, I would say Smith and then Rodgers. Rodgers has 2 comeback wins now in that last minute. Domination over the Bears. I mean, he would definitely be right there.
Cam's trying to make a conversation.
Cam looked good the last 2 weeks, but it's only 2 of the 5 weeks he's looked
Stafford's trying to make a conversation. Like, there's people that are kind of trying to make a conversation, but I wouldn't put them there. No.
Like I said, you could throw their hat in the ring, like I would said about Wentz, or you know what I mean. Like you would rotate all of them behind it. Right. Wilson.
I don't know. The Chiefs are just overall, they're just
extremely good. Their defense gave up a lot.
Like
in
I
the
said,
second half.
like I said last week, if you
take Deshaun Watson, man, he's throwing it.
Oh yeah. But like I said last week about the Chiefs, if you take their record out of the equation and you just look at what they're doing, they are just overall just the most dominant team right now. If you just look at what is going on the field, you would just say that is the most dominant team in the league.
We're not going to be repetitive and talk about them the way we did last week. We talked about can they sustain this and whatnot. But speaking of awards, 5 weeks through, Deshaun Watson, Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, it's not even a conversation.
He's looking disgustingly good right now.
Yeah, it's not even close right now.
So I do think that the Chiefs being 5-0 is a big deal because they are the last undefeated team, and they're going to keep this going. I'd like to see them kind of rattle off a bunch of games in a row and see where they can take this. Andy Reid's that kind of coach, though. He had 14 wins 1 year in Philadelphia, and he had a couple 12 wins in a couple years. So he's used to putting up these numbers, but this is probably the best overall offense I've seen. Travis Kelce did get a concussion in the game on Sunday night, so that turns into probably a big deal moving forward if he doesn't get to play.
That could suck.
You brought up Cam. Cam looked extremely good against the Detroit defense that looked extremely good against a bunch of offenses outside of the Giants that are good. So 2 weeks in a row, Cam putting up big numbers. They're running him just the right amount. McCaffrey finding his groove. The wide receivers, great. I mean, this has been
just coming up for the Panthers again.
If Cam plays like this, he played like this in 2015, he's actually playing a little better in the last 2 games. These are actually 2, I think, overall more consistent in the passing side of games
quarterback-wise
than he had in 2015. 2015, he was passing really well. He was making the 50-yard runs. This is more of a. He actually looks like a quarterback that can run instead of a runner that can play quarterback, like he did in 2015. So if he can continue to put up these numbers and be this accurate, which is his biggest flaw, and he's been pretty accurate the last 2 weeks, which is a step for Cam.
We'll see.
Do you think that they're for real? I mean, I'm still a little scared of their defense.
Yeah, I'm holding off on that. I need to see a little more from that side.
Their division is Tampa, New Orleans, and Atlanta.
We'll wait and see.
Right.
We'll wait and see.
But they look good the last 2 weeks.
There's too many what ifs.
And as a Cam fan, I'm very excited to see what's happening.
It's still a little funky. I gotta see more from their defense.
He's looking very good, and I'm thoroughly excited about that.
Let's put a woman in the secondary.
Did you see his hat in the post-game press conference?
I did. Was it the same? Wait, was it the same hat that he wore when he flew in with the
girl?
Okay, it was.
All right.
I was more disappointed in the fact that he apologized. I'm just saying.
Do you want me to explain the situation?
Sure.
Because him and that woman have been going at it for a year and a half. She has been her fame has been nothing.
No, the fact that she said some racist shit.
Oh, she said I was getting there. So her claim to fame, literally, she got this job from just basically putting out articles shaming Cam Newton over the last couple of years in the South.
Why is that?
And she also has
in the South.
She also has
in the South
good amount of tweets from back in the day that were pretty racist. And then
she since had to apologize for it because of the fact.
And she also does nothing but banter Cam Newton in these post-game press conferences. The entire reason he actually didn't go into the post-game press conference after the Patriots game is because her and 2 other reporters put out pretty pretty mean article. Like this happens in the NFL, but you can't put out articles saying bad things about these players and then be mad when they don't want to give you the time of day. And then so the next day, because they were mad that he gave them the time of day, he gave them the time of day. And when she said that, instead of saying, his 30-second clip sounds like he says females don't know football, when really he was just saying this female doesn't know football.
My man did say go back to the kitchen. My man did say do my laundry. My man did say stay in your lane a la LeVar Ball.
He wasn't even saying women don't know football. He was saying this woman doesn't know football because he has read her
as
articles.
An individual.
He's read, and if it was a man, he would have said this man doesn't know football.
That's what I said. This is what I said.
He was
exactly when that happened.
It had nothing to do with women.
If he would have said the same quote to a man, what would be having this conversation? And he didn't say anything. I've spoken to some women, and a lot of women have said.
And then because she knows that nobody knows the context, she decided to put out, I tried to talk to Cam about this afterwards and he wouldn't talk to me. Like,
I've spoken to women and women have literally told me, I don't understand what the problem was.
I've heard that many times. And and most of the people I've talked to about this, they actually said that even hearing it without the context that I gave them, they didn't really think it was that big of a deal. But look,
2017.
if we were talking about women not knowing football, then that is a horrible conversation.
Right, he brought up
the fact.
Right, he did say
go
stay in the lane, stay in the kitchen. He didn't say that.
I don't want to make it sound. I don't want people to think that we're thinking like women. I talk football with women actually pretty often, and to be on top of it, you
don't gotta clarify nothing. We're not saying, and he did not say anything that had anything against women knowing about sports.
We were the people who brought up the first woman coach. That was not even in the mainstream media. The first woman full-time coach we talked about on this show, but it wasn't talked about in the mainstream media. Again, but this is brought up because he said this female trying to tell me about routes. Because all she did was burn him for how long, and he basically felt like she didn't know football the way she was talking about. Anyways, that's the context around it. If you would like to be mad at Cam for it, then I'm sorry. Like that, it's just not really.
You're probably somebody I can't have a rational conversation with anyway, so I don't even care.
He did not mean to offend people. He came out and talked about how he did not mean to offend anybody.
I didn't even listen to the apology.
I think he handled it very well. People say he's immature. I think it was a very mature way to handle it, especially instead of throwing her under the bus, because he could have thrown her under the bus and absolutely ripped her again.
I guess I'm immature because I refuse to listen to it.
He stood up and said, I never meant to offend women. I hope that we can learn from this, my daughters and my wife.
So who is she for her racist ass tweets? Oh, we don't talk about that?
As he always says to all the kids, don't be like me, be better than me. That's how he ended the video. He ends every video like that. But shout out to Cam. Again, immature though. Shout out to Cam.
I'm not a role model, right? Whatever.
So
people irritate me.
Speaking of people that irritate people, Odell Beckham had a pretty funny celebration on Sunday.
Where he was crying and then he really cried. I laughed so hard at that.
When he slapped the football like a baby, man, that was hilarious.
I did have a good laugh at his injury, which sounds horrible. But
I didn't have any laugh at his injury.
The fact that
he got hurt.
I had a good laugh just because of the fact.
I want to see.
I don't laugh at people's injuries. I laughed at the fact that he was fake crying on the sidelines and he was being comforted. And I was like, he's crying for real now because it actually hurts.
Right.
Sounds messed up, but my sadistic, giant hating ass laughed. I'm sorry. I don't laugh at injury, but I laugh at his circumstance, that individual circumstance.
How it happened, the karma of it.
I laughed so hard.
You laughed at the karma of it.
I laughed so, yes, that's exactly, and I called it when that happened. I was like, that's what you get. That's karma. That's literally what I said. I was like, that's karma. It was funny as shit from that perspective.
So I don't like West Coast teams going from the West Coast to the East Coast to the 1 o'clock games, but I still picked the Chargers. Was that me hating? I felt like it was kind of me hating, and I turned out to be right.
I don't know. You hate Phil Rivers, so
I do. It's right. That was the point. I was like, I don't know how.
He just said I do, which he keeps arguing with me that he doesn't.
I don't hate Phil Rivers the person. I hate Phil Rivers the overrated football player.
I ain't talking about the person. I don't give a shit what he does in his personal life.
Phil Rivers the overrated football player bothers the heck out of me. Absolutely, the way Jay Cutler bothers you.
I don't give a hell about James Cutler as a person. I hate Jay Cutler, the football player.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. The way you feel about him as a football player is the way I feel about Phil Rivers, the football player. And the way I feel about Cutler is the way you feel about Rivers.
Which doesn't make sense.
Both of them were trash this year. Except if they play the Giants. Because the Giants are 0-5.
The NY stands for next year.
New quarterback next year? Do they bring Geno Smith in at any point this year?
I don't want to rehash that Manning and the mirror joke, but I mean...
I don't even think it's Eli's necessarily fault. That's the best part of this.
That's the funniest part of it.
How about they lost Brandon Marshall and Odell Beckham for the season?
Who?
The other wide receiver that they had.
They should have traded him.
They got Shirley Separate though.
Didn't he get hurt too?
I don't know. Probably.
Sure.
If you play wide receiver,
3 wide receivers got hurt in the Giants.
I don't know why T.O. and Chad Ochocinco are trying to throw their hat on being Giants. If
Why
you play,
are they not?
Because if you play wide receiver for the Giants, you are going to get hurt.
Better get paid broken than not be paid healthy. I don't know.
To be honest with you, you might get more production out of those two than you did out of the two that got hurt.
You mentioned Miami. Are we going to talk about Miami?
You want to talk about Miami? What do you want to say about Miami?
I didn't even think about Miami.
That's where the players play, and they party, and they ride like every day.
Till 6 in the morning. Shout out to me in this meeting I gotta go to.
Till 6 in the morning.
My nose is itchy.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I was gonna say, we didn't talk about this all there.
He was a line coach.
You get it?
Alright, so when
that power offensive line.
when you're sending money and videos and drugs to strippers in Las Vegas, note to self, don't do it in your office. Got it.
You know what's ignorant? I was so intrigued by this because I was like, the balls of this, I just have to see it. And then I was like, you know what? Was it live? Like I was like, I bet you that comment section was lit. Could you imagine that?
No, he sent her the video like a couple of weeks ago.
And who uploaded it? Her?
She uploaded it? A stripper in Las Vegas.
Where did she upload it at?
On Facebook. She said since it's Sunday.
I'm sure that comment section, well, I wish it was live. It would have been funny if it was live. I assumed it was live. That would have been funnier. No. Could you imagine if it was live?
So she said...
Yo, you gonna regret this tomorrow?
So she said... and this is the problem with this entire situation. She claimed it was for the name since you guys all since the NFL and everyone wants to disrespect the players and the way they're going about things. This is in the name of Colin Kaepernick and your guys. She literally said your rules on marijuana and the way you guys treat black players with the way they're kneeling. That's why she put this video out. She says realistically she put it out because he stopped sending her money and drugs.
Whatever.
She's also 30 and he's like 56 and. So she wasn't with him for anything but the money and drugs, obviously. He's also married with 2 kids in Miami.
To Miami, where the players play.
So.
Miami.
All she did was
ruin our theme this week.
She didn't
Party in the city with a
heat is on all night and it when the break of dawn. Going to Miami.
Damn it, now I gotta do it.
Here's the thing. The dude's been in college football in the NFL for over 30 years. Since he was 21. He's 56 years old. And I did not know his name, and you do not know his name. And most people who follow sports the way... I don't either.
He's a white guy with a goatee.
And most of the people who follow sports the way that we do, which is pretty religiously, don't know who this guy is, and he's been in it since 1980-something. So...
Right.
All she did was really make the side of Colin Kaepernick and the oppressed players look bad by saying the things she said before it, and then putting this out and getting him fired. That's all. Like that's literally all that happened. And she wants a lot of money to do a sit-down interview. So I guess it's already people told her that they're not going to do a sit-down interview. So obviously this is all money motivated, and now it's literally going to be out of the news cycle probably by the time this video is even uploaded. And that's my point. Is she didn't help anything. No. She only really hurt some things.
Right.
And it's over.
One of my first reactions among the... this is funny. It was just funny to me. Because I was just like, man, the balls. Because I assumed, my initial thought was he did it. And I was like, man, that's some ballsy shit. That's why he was like, oh, shout out to me for doing this before I go to a meeting.
He was in the Dolphins' offensive line. He was in his office in the Dolphins' team facilities.
I was just like, well, okay, 1 and 1A. I was like, okay, do y'all really think he's the only coach out here that's doing it?
No,
2,
I think the players do
1A,
these things as well.
Right, 1A, we going to start drug testing these coaches now?
No.
Why not?
Because most of them are doing it. You're going to lose more coaches. Absolutely, agreed.
Well, then that's not okay. If the players have to be suspended for doing quote unquote marijuana, and this guy's doing quote unquote cocaine, then I'm sorry, one is clearly equal to, if not worse than the other. So why would they not be suspended when they are supposed to be held to a higher standard because you're supposed to be the leader?
But even the players are told the exact months that they can be tested, and that's it. So that means the league literally gives them a heads up. That means
usually a heads up or not.
A week before training camp to a week after training camp is the only time that these players can get tested. So that means just stop smoking weed or doing your drugs a couple weeks before training camp, and then after training camp, you are allowed to do this again.
I don't care. If I'm the NFL, though, I'm saying you can't be snorting lines on our tables.
I don't disagree with that, but
my point was, we really think he's the only one?
No. But has the NFL has been it's been very disturbing how they've handled so many things in the past. This is nothing new. I'm not shocked that they're not going to.
I'm not shocked that it happened.
I understand, and I understand what you're trying to point out, but
that's hypocrisy. If I'm a player, I'm saying, well, what about this? I don't know. I
agree with what you're saying.
They can't just let it go under the rug, which is
what they're going to.
Which was going to be my second point. Was how quickly does he get his second chance? And
he will have another job
next year.
Yes.
Okay. Just thought I'd clarify that.
Absolutely. He was getting paid $2.5 million. He was known as one of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL. He will have another job. He will quote unquote go to rehab for a couple months and then get another job next year.
He's the best offensive line coach, right?
He's up there. Yeah, well, he's a line coach for sure. Who's going to protect Jay Cutler now?
Okay, I got to say my ignorant joke because literally, when I saw that, I said, "Did he get it from Jay Cutler?"
Oh. No, Jay Cutler.
I said it was here. I said it was either Jay Cutler or Dominican Sue. Because then I was like, "Does Ricky Williams still have ties?" I had a lot of ignorance come out of me when I saw this. Just saying. You got it from one of the three. Am I wrong? I didn't think so. Okay, let's keep moving. Because you had to think about it until you were like, I don't know. Right, my point. Cutler, Dominican Sue, or Ricky Williams still got ties? I don't.
The Miami Dolphins, the last thing that they needed was this. So they're having some issues. Now, back to your point of the whole players thing, the argument is Michael Irvin has fully admitted that he did lines at the halftime of every Super Bowl he played in, and they're still not drug testing these players after a week after training camp. So, my point being is, they're not stopping this from happening inside the locker room from anybody, not just the coaches. It's just that they need to put the face on for about a month and a half to claim they have something, usually for insurance policies, to be honest with you, because the coaches won't get hurt near the amount of times that the players will, so they don't need to insure the coaches the way they need to insure the players, so the drug testing makes sense for the players. It's usually a political issue, and that's right there, money motivated, boom. Probably the answer, sadly. Now,
stupid.
We talked about young quarterbacks. I want to just quickly note Mitchell Trubisky looked actually really good on Monday night against a pretty good defense in the
I wouldn't know how I didn't watch it.
Minnesota Vikings. I actually enjoyed the game. If Sam Bradford played for the Vikings, I really think that the Vikings would have probably pounced all over them because he is probably much better than what they have going on right now. But
ESPN didn't watch it either. Just saying. ESPN cared so much about this game, they kept their reporters and your preview team back at the studio.
Yeah, I know.
I thought that was hysterical. They said we're not paying for we'll pay for these guys to go to the baseball thing, but we're not paying for you guys to go to this meaningless bum ass Bears team. And that's when I was like, well, I guess I don't gotta watch it either.
It was an interesting game. Came down the last couple seconds. I watched the whole thing. Yeah. Trubisky looked good.
Guess you had nothing going on, huh? There was no baseball on.
There was baseball. I was flipping between that and baseball. I watched a lot of baseball. Trubisky looked good, though. I think that he looked good overall.
Yay.
One game. We'll see what happens moving forward with the Chicago Bears. I'm not that I think they're going to start winning a bunch of games. Now,
that's negative.
A veteran quarterback that 5 interceptions for Ben Roethlisberger on Sunday. Very unlike Ben Roethlisberger. First quarterback in the history of the NFL to throw over 50 times in a game and not throw a touchdown pass.
That's embarrassing.
Also the first quarterback in the history of the NFL to not throw a touchdown pass but 5 interceptions in a game.
He doesn't have it anymore, I guess.
That's what the papers were saying. So he sarcastically said that after the game. to the people who write those articles. I think anybody who throws it over 50 times in a game is putting effort into it and is still fully dedicated, so I'm not thinking that he's moving on, but I do think that it would spark the conversation of they lost to the Bears, they lost to the Jaguars this year.
The Jaguars have a great defense. They always struggle historically against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Jaguars have a great defense. It is what it is. I'm not writing too much into this. He had a bad game.
I think that is overreaction the way that people are acting. It's very.
He had a bad game.
It's not.
He had a terrible game.
It's not good. I said that.
My fantasy team appreciated it because I got the Jaguars defense. So.
Before the season, I said to you about how maybe it would be start time to at least looking about the future quarterback. This is probably just one of those signs, but at the same time, I'm with you. I don't think that it's like season over.
4 or 5 touchdowns next week in owners.
Legitimately.
So whatever.
He also put up over 300 yards in this game, so
he needs to relax. Steelers fans need to relax. Let's wait and see.
But I know living in this area, I know a good amount of Steelers fans and Cowboys have.
They've been calling his head for like 4 years.
Yeah,
I can't
and ones
take
that
them seriously.
But I'm saying ones that weren't on that bandwagon are now jumped onto that bandwagon that I know. So like it's a little.
Okay, Tony Romo, what are you going to do next? Luck out and get Dak Prescott. Good luck.
But that's why I'm saying you need to start looking forward. I think that what the Cowboys did by trying to draft somebody just to make sure in case is the smart move. It's proven to be the smart move. Last thing with the NFL.
What's that?
There's been a trade.
Can't be meaningful.
If I told you, now conditional picks mean you can get up to a certain round, right? So if I told you you can get up to, conditionally, if Adrian Peterson has a good year, you can get up to what round would you say? Would you conditionally give for Adrian Peterson?
At this stage, 3rd at most.
The best that the New Orleans Saints can get for Adrian Peterson is a 6th round.
So
they traded a 7th rounder, and if he has a good season, they get the 6th rounder.
So the Knicks traded Melo for a ham sandwich, and the Saints traded Adrian Peterson for a wish sandwich.
Like, that's how little they valued him. That's how little they valued him. They did not use him properly, obviously. They didn't ever do anything under center, which you need to do with Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Peterson had 81 yards, 0 touchdowns.
In 4 games. I know.
81 yards.
On 9 carries. Right? 10 carries, something like that.
Well, I don't know.
I think it was I think he had less than 15 touches overall, a couple catches.
81 yards, Adrian Peterson. Oh, he must be done. No, they showcased it. They made it known in week 1 primetime. We're not giving it to him.
Last time that we saw him healthy, last time that we saw him get 20 games of carry was 2 years ago in Minnesota, and he was an absolute monster. He got hurt last year at Minnesota, and then this year things are happening.
He was fine up until that point.
My point being,
I refuse to believe that he still can do it, which is what I said.
There's an opportunity now with him going to Arizona.
Yeah, and you were saying about their weak offensive line. No, he's just not getting the balls. And when you only have 81 rushing yards, and
absolutely, he didn't get the ball at all. And every time he was on the field, they knew they were running the ball with him because they were always in shotgun. So you legitimately knew they were always just going to hand the ball on the field.
And you got at least one running back ahead of him. We knew what that.
And you had another one that catches the ball extremely well out of the backfield on top of that. So it really hampered your use of Adrian Peterson. Why did they go out and give him that money? I have no clue.
I guess they win because they get that pick.
No.
Shout out to the Cardinals, though. They cut Chris Johnson, 2K, CJ 2K for Adrian Peterson. They're primed to win the 2012 Super Bowl.
Quickly, like talk about the NBA. One small thing.
What's that?
The process got a contract. Joel Embiid calls himself the process. He got a rookie max deal. Now, a lot of people are freaking out because of the money. If you look at Matthew Dellavedova's money, that's a lot too. I'd freak out over that. JJ Redick got $20 million from the Sixers this offseason too. The NBA is just paying a lot of people a lot of money. I look at it as a good move in the sense of, obviously if he gets hurt, it's a risk, it's a fail. Like, I'm not going to sit here and argue that in any way, shape, or form. The good move to me would be if he has a good year this year, plays dominantly, and gets a max deal next year, you were paying him $207 million on the max deal next year. Where this year, you give him a max deal, you were paying him $148 million and only 30% of a cap hit, where next year it would be like a 37% cap hit. So,
is this his final year of his rookie year?
Yes.
See, it's hard to tell because he only played for like
I understand
5 minutes.
I understand. So what I'm saying is, if they
you
would,
can't say he deserved it. You can't say he didn't deserve.
And my point being is, if he plays this year and then ends up deserving a max contract,
you're gonna owe more money.
you put yourself in a worse position than if he just gets hurt and you have to pay him this money. Also, they claim it's the most. The Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN claims it is the most complex rookie max deal of all time because he actually agreed to a bunch of injury things that he will not. He will only get X amount of money if he gets injured over a certain amount of time. So the Sixers apparently covered their butt when it came to the injury side of this, which no details of exactly what that is came out.
Right.
So, but the fact that there is even a 10% clause in there, which is more than any other player I've ever seen, would be a start to, hey, they tried. You know what I mean?
I guess.
I'd rather this than them pay him the $207 million when you still have to pay Simmons in 2 years and Sarchik in 2 years and then Fultz the year after that. Yeah. I look at it in the sense of the power play move. Right. The power play move of keeping the 7% on the cap this year makes way more sense than giving him the 7% on the cap next year and then having to try to figure it out down the road. This way you can actually give those four all their slices of the pie and then still actually create a half decent team around them. Mm-hmm. So I'm not again. People are freaking out. People are like, "Oh, this is dumb." Blah 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 blah. Look, it was legitimately their only move, and
first time ever that the Sixers have gave somebody money that probably deserves it,
and on top,
that might deserve it, that might actually have a future, and we're complaining.
Right,
the ignorance coming out of y'all mouths,
and it's not even just the Sixers. I'm seeing it everywhere. I'm seeing it everywhere, and and as I open this up with.
So what are you supposed to do? Just let him walk away?
Thank you. I completely agree.
I don't think No, I'm not saying give him a max situation in any situation until we see what's going to happen with him moving forward. But I mean,
this is the way the NBA is working right now.
I don't hate on it. Well, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Everyone's getting that money, so
right.
This is what happens.
Right, and I'm saying in general, I don't know if he deserves a 5-year. I assume he's going to be just fine. He's going to be a great player.
From what we have seen of him,
right.
it has.
Let's just assume he's going to be a great player.
It seems like.
If he's going to continue and he's going to continue to get better, then there's no lose in that situation. Because they're finally trying to do the right thing for the first time since Iverson.
Right. Kobe signed a max contract at 35. 35-year-olds get hurt all the time, so it's just as much of a risk. You know what I'm saying? This is part. Do you know what I mean? I
don't even know Sixers fans talking about how this was stupid.
Oh, well, I don't know many Sixers. There's a couple, but I'm saying the bigger national media, everything I'm reading is just people are trashing it, and I'm like, you didn't really have much of another option. That's the problem. If you give me a better solution, I'm all in, but there isn't one than what they did. No. College football.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama's looking real good. Clemson's looking real good. Penn State. We will see when they get to their stretch against Ohio State, Michigan State. But they're looking pretty good so far.
Same old stars.
Except, got to do a shout out.
Of course you do.
Did you not mock me when I said that the Notre Dame could be 4-1 or 5-0 going into that USC game?
Yep. They're
4-1 going into that USC game, with their only loss being 1 point to a top 5 team in the NCAA right now. I'm thoroughly impressed with this Fighting Irish team. I'm very excited. They have a week off before you go to the USC game.
I'm thoroughly impressed, so I'm not impressed.
Last year I was not thoroughly impressed at all. I was thoroughly disappointed in Notre Dame last year.
But you always find that little glimmer of hope. But their offense is really good. With the quarterback. But I always get the butt out of them.
And look how good they actually are when they tackle. They're starting to tackle this year, Dwight. It is the craziest thing. Their defense is playing good. I am shocked. At best. But, shout out to them because I was hoping that they would be 5-0 or 4-1 going into this, and they did exactly what I thought they could. Now, they have USC, Stanford, and Miami. And those are 3 of their last 6 games, and Stanford and Miami are both on the road. So those are going to be their 3 hardest games of the last 6. But say they even lose all 3, that is 7-4. That is much better than what they did last year. And say they win 1 or 2 of those games, they can have a 9-win season. After last year, I'm not saying Brian Kelly redeems himself, but it was definitely a start. We'll see. This is just the early pride. We're going to the hardest part of the season. Very excited for that USC game. I just had to shout out the Irish. I mean, that was
but see, I always get a but.
We kind of trashed them a little bit.
Because they were garbage.
So, I mean, I had to
some
give them
people
the
had them
props.
going undefeated.
I said 4-0 or 5-1. They're 4-0.
You said 6-0.
I thought it was 6, but I thought it was 6 games. It ended up only being 5 games before the UFC game. Their one loss is by 1 point to Georgia, who was a top 5 team.
That was an L. You said 6-0.
But if they win out, the rest of their if they win out, which I don't think is going to happen, but if they win out, they'll make the playoffs.
I'm sorry, they in the championship game. Man.
If they make the playoffs, they're 1 game away from the championship game. If they win their playoff game, then they make the championship. Yes.
Knock it off.
Dwight, as of today, they are still alive, and that's all I'm hoping for. Just stay alive, boys.
Story of your sports life, huh?
You want to do some picks? Dwight, what'd you do last week? I had a great week.
Nobody asked you.
I went 11-3.
Yeah, I was 8-6. By far the worst week I've had this year.
I'm 53-24 now overall.
49-28.
You're not too far behind me.
This week hurt. I put a hurt on him. I feel like most of these are going to be similar, so.
Once a year, every year on primetime, I have to watch Cam Newton play the Philadelphia Eagles, so I'm not even... It doesn't even faze me anymore. This is like the 4th year in a row I've watched this. Obviously, go Birds, and I'm picking the Eagles because of how well they played, but... This is the test for the defense. We talk about the secondary. It's a short week, and usually defenses play really bad on the short week, as we've seen all year long. And on top of it, the Panthers' offense has been on fire the last 8 quarters that they have played.
Yeah.
So, those combination of things, this is going to be something to watch for on Thursday night. I'm picking the Eagles still. I think the way the offense has moved the ball, the way the defensive line has controlled the line of scrimmage, if they can get to Cam, not that Cam can't move around, we all know how I feel about him. I'm just... hoping the defensive line can get some pressure on him, and I think that it's very possible. I'm picking the Eagles because of their defense and offensive line, but you can almost say that every week when teams have good offensive defensive line over the other team.
This is funny to me because it's actually the second week in a row where Thursday Night Football is like, oh, this is actually kind of interesting game. It's not a bad matchup. How about that? Let's keep them moving.
Yeah.
We won't.
No.
I went with Carolina because I'm still going with that.
How good the 8 quarters have been. It's hard to argue.
I'm still going with that defense. They're top 8 in points allowed. They're at home. It's prime time. I'm going with that situation.
Yeah, the defense. They don't force any turnover. I still think they've gone this whole year without forcing a turnover, but they've done everything else really well.
Right.
So they have been better than we expected on the defensive side for Carolina. New England taking on the Jets in the Jets. I don't know what the stats are. All I know is Tom Brady owns that team.
Yeah, I picked the Patriots.
I picked the Patriots.
Patriots overall haven't been looking too solid, but I mean...
Tom Brady still has looked solid over that
Tom
time.
Brady versus Jets, I'm still taking up 1,000% out of 1,000%.
They're also 3-2.
It's pretty bad for them, I guess, huh?
Right. Chicago taking on Baltimore. Mitchell Trubisky's second start is going to be on a short week. Baltimore just went across the country and blew the heck out of Oakland.
Baltimore.
I'm taking Baltimore as well. That would be their 4th win this year. They'd be 4-2 if they win this game.
Ridiculous.
Weird.
It makes no sense.
San Francisco taking on Washington. San Francisco has not scored over 13 points, I think, in other than the LA game.
I'm not going Brian Hoyer. I'm going with the Redskins.
I'm going with the Redskins as well, especially with how good they have looked in their past recent weeks, and they coming off a bye week. Detroit
Basketball.
taking on the Adrian Peterson-less Saints. The Saints are favored at home in this one.
Saints are a hot mess. I have the Lions.
The Saints' defense is miserable. The Lions have had one bad week on defense, and it was last week against a really lethal offense. I do think New Orleans' offense is going to be able to do some really good things against Detroit. I think Detroit's offense is going to be able to do more against the Saints' defense. Even if it's a 55-50 game, I think Detroit wins. Miami taking on Atlanta. I don't know the Atlanta wide receivers' health situations. I know I'm hearing different things about Sanu and Julio Jones playing, but it sounds like, as of this recording, they're going to play. I'm going to take Atlanta.
I'm taking the line. I mean the Falcons. That was a joke. I don't do drugs. That was a shot against the Dolphins.
So, Miami, with the hectic week that they're having, with how bad Cutler has looked, and they've given him time.
I'm sorry. Can you run that by me one more again?
Cutler has not looked good the last 3 weeks. They have not moved the ball.
Sorry,
they have not moved the ball well at all.
You misspelled career.
Hey, they look good against the Chargers, all right?
You misspelled career.
But Miami.
How about that Wildcat?
I like how interested he was in playing wide receiver on that play.
I hate Jay Cutler.
I love Jay Cutler, man.
That summarizes his whole career.
All you needed to do was have somebody light
That
a cigarette.
summarizes the amount of his care and his effort of his career.
All you needed somebody to do on that play was have somebody light a cigarette on the sideline and hand it to him before the play started, so he could stand there and puff on it while the play was going on, standing 5 feet away from everything. Because like literally, he was so disengaged that he could have smoked a cigarette during that play.
Wait, do we both have the Falcons?
Yeah.
We both got it. Okay.
Green Bay taking on Minnesota. I kind of had a hard time with this one, but then I remembered Aaron Rodgers, the quarterback of Green Bay. I'm going to take Green Bay.
I had a hard time with this one as well. Then I remembered Aaron Rodgers was 0-2 against them last year. I'm going Minnesota.
Yeah, okay. I knew he was 0-2 against them last year. He has his moments against them.
He struggles against them. I'm not confident in that, but
they have a good defense. But
I'm probably just a bitter Cowboys fan.
They're coming off a short week, and Mitch Trubisky had some success against them. That's why I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be able to do a couple things against them too. But look,
I don't know.
Their defense is very good.
Their defense historically has just been doing work against them.
And they play him often, so that's just one of those things that if the team can figure out your weaknesses that much and they can keep getting to you like that, then maybe they're onto something. Cleveland taking on Houston in the battle of the rookie quarterbacks. Houston's rookie quarterback has been sensational. Said it before the season, man. I told you this was going to happen.
You also told me John Manziel was going to happen
True.
2 years ago, so I mean, shh.
Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. I'm not going to sit here and say that's not possible. I like to call out when I'm wrong, too. Don't get me wrong. You know that.
Me too.
I'm still taking Houston in this one.
Duh.
I'm having fun watching Deshaun Watson. The Los Angeles Rams taking on the Jaguars. A super interesting game that if you would have circled this before the season and said that...
I told you to shut up.
Right. Who you taking?
I took Jacksonville, just because of their dominant defense.
I took the Rams.
Okay.
I think the Rams have a very good defense, too.
They do.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting.
It's going to be interesting. I just don't buy this Jared Goff situation. I just don't.
I think that the more...
And he might get exposed this week against that defense.
I think that the more tape you get on an offense, a new offense with a bunch of new players, the way that the Rams have going on, I think that the harder it gets for that offense. So there will be a regression at some point in Jared Goff's game. Right. It might be this week. I don't see
Gurley dominating against him. I just
think that Rams defense is going to be able to stop Fournette from doing what he did the last couple of weeks.
It's going to be a low-scoring game, I'll tell you that.
Tampa Bay's taking on Arizona.
Adrian Peterson. It's not going to be a factor.
No. Jameis Winston coming off of Thursday night game.
Very good game. They should have won.
They had a lot of time in between that game and now in this next game. So
they should have beat New England.
Yeah, absolutely. I got Tampa Bay. I think even though they have 2 losses, they have looked as legit as everyone thought.
Tampa Bay as well.
The Chargers taking on Oakland. Oakland lost their quarterback and decided that they just aren't good anywhere else, I guess. I know he was like the motivator and this, that, and the next thing, but like he could not have been the only heartbeat of your team. If he is the heartbeat of your team and the rest of these talented players can't do anything with him off the field.
You know there was debate about him going back last week apparently?
Yeah, because that's how bad. That's how much
they off. I was like, wait, really? Was that the conversation?
If you think your backup quarterback is that bad that you want to put your starting quarterback, your future of your franchise, the guy that you paid the most money in the history of the NFL at one point, if you were willing to put his back on the line, and you know what happened with Tony Romo,
literally,
but you won't just go out and sign Colin Kaepernick. I'm
that's a whole
mind blown over
we
that.
Cannot have right now. What'd you get? Who'd you pick?
I took the Chargers.
I took the Raiders.
The Raiders just...
I'm tired of picking the Chargers.
I didn't want to take the Chargers.
Why do we switch roles these 2 weeks?
Would you be surprised if Pittsburgh beat Kansas City? Not in the slightest bit would I be surprised if Pittsburgh came out and won this game.
To an extent. I guess this year just because of the pure dominance that we were talking about with Kansas City earlier.
The NFL is so week to week right now. The last couple years.
We also said earlier that Ben Roethlisberger could throw 4 touchdowns and no picks. I don't think that's going to happen against this team. But
no. But point being, he still has the talent to do that.
If he pulled it off, I'd be like,
He has
and
Bell.
Roethlisberger
He has Bell. He has Brown, and has Ben Roethlisberger. And if their offensive line plays any good, you have a shot.
I pick Kansas City.
I picked Kansas City as well.
But I
opened that conversation up by saying like that's how ridiculous the overreaction was on Monday that I can literally ask you, would you be surprised if Pittsburgh won? And I don't think anybody would say they'd be surprised.
No.
So that shows how ridiculous the overreaction has been.
Right.
I agree. I picked Kansas City as well. If their defense gives up a lot of points the way they did, though, that's going to start being an issue down the road, as good as their offense is. Also, that has to do with you're up 20-some points. You start playing a different kind of defense. The other team starts just airing it out on you. Sometimes they get big on the big plays.
Yeah.
The Sunday night game is an 11-point spread.
Too bad it's not WWE pay-per-view on.
So you're not taking the Giants.
And why it stands for next year, not next week. I got the Broncos.
Do we see Geno Smith at all this season? I don't think so, personally. Do they fire the coach at any point?
Too stubborn. No, it's only his first year.
Do they fire the GM? He's been the GM through both Super Bowls, but those two Super Bowls are starting to look a little longer way as the years go on.
Yeah.
And the more you go 0-5 and maybe 0-6 and maybe 0-7, those Super Bowls start to look way more down the road in that sense.
Yeah.
It's gonna be those conversations are gonna start happening. They have to at some point.
Go quarterback, somebody.
So we both taking Denver.
Yeah.
Your Monday night game.
Ugh.
Jacoby Brissett has looked ridiculously good. Tennessee has looked ridiculously bad.
Marcus Mariota probably won't play, even though they're playing that BS again, where they're saying, well, where's a game time decision, even though they knew. It's probably going to be the same thing again this week. They won't know up until about 5 o'clock on Monday.
Everything in my heart is telling me to trust Jacoby Brissett because of how good he is. I just cannot trust that Colts defense against a college team right now. I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans super reluctantly.
I'm taking the Titans, assuming Mariota's going to play. And if he doesn't, I'm just going to assume DeMarcus Murray can carry that team to a victory. I'm not watching the 2 of the 3 primetime games, and oddly enough, the one I'm watching is going to be the Thursday night one.
With Philly.
What world is this? Who I play for?
2017. America, man.
My Eagles, huh? Who I play for.
So shout out to Dwight and his family. Sorry for your loss. Peace out, Grandma.
Appreciate it.
Know it's been a hard time. Thank you for getting through this show.
Absolutely.
Condolences to the family. Dwight, JD Sports will be back next week. Basketball.
Absolutely. We out here.
I'm sure I'll talk about baseball. I doubt I'll say anything about the NHL, even though the Penguins lost 10-1 last week.
I did see that, actually. That was that Thursday night, too. Because I was at a bar when I saw that, and I laughed.
10-1.
I laughed, because I was on one of the TVs. I was like, is that really 10-1? Everybody was like, yeah. I was like, that's really funny. I don't care about the Penguins, but I thought that was funny as hell.
The Flyers look half decent, but the record doesn't show it so far. It's very early in the season.
Right.
Doubt we'll talk any hockey next week. I'm sure there will be some college football to talk about. At minimum, I'll be at least excited to talk about Notre Dame and USC preview. Till next week, I'm Jared Hood. That's the way. This is JD Sports.
Peace out.